Hello, everybody. Welcome to another This Week in Free to Play. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a bit triggered because I just did 50 minutes of me rambling on about the 100 while playing this game. And I realized that it was showing this, which is my main account, not my free to play account. So we're going to redo this. I did a whole synopsis. So, okay, here's the deal. First of all, we have a murderer. We have a suspect for shooting about an hour and a half north of us. Americans are probably like, yeah, wow, day's ending in Y. But around here, not happen all the time, so they've got emergency warning. The broadcast system on the phone, and it says, hey, there's a murderer, stay away from this place. But it's like an hour and a half away. So that's crazy. And then I was talking about the 100, and I'm going to say there will be spoilers. I'm going to try to make it less than 50 minutes, like the first time I was talking about it. I want to talk about it because I got to get it off my chest. But before we do that, I need you guys, right off the bat, I need you guys to write in the comments down below, I need a new TV series to watch. I have Prime. I have Netflix. I have Disney Plus. I have Apple. I need a new TV series to watch. And I want it to be similar to the 100 because I'm kind of into that right now. Don't say The Walking Dead. Don't say Fear the Walking Dead. I watched them both already. The Walking Dead kind of lost me after season 6, but I've been kind of sticking through it. I stuck through it to like season 8, and then I stopped, and then I got caught up on Netflix. So don't tell me that one. But there was one on Amazon Prime. Someone said, well, you gotta go with this. And I'm like, yeah, that's the one I kept trying to remember. The Expanse, don't have to mention that. I'm not caught up, but I've been watching that. But I want like a dystopian future or something survival type, something like that. So let me know what you got. Colony? Has anyone seen Colony? It keeps recommending it for me. It's got Sawyer from Lost, and I keep thinking I should watch it, but I don't. So help me out. Let me know in the comments down below what series should I watch? What should I go with? Now let's talk about the 100. So I finished the 100. And so those of you who don't know what the 100 is, the 100 is basically nuclear holocaust. So a number of the human race sent up to what's called the Ark. The Ark used to be a collection of 12 space stations that came together so that they could live for, I think they wanted for 3 years. No, for 300 years, sorry. They were up there for 300 years to wait to see if the Earth was then habitable again. But we meet them at year 97, and some shit's gone wrong that forces them to send people to Earth. Now, here's the deal. Crime is punishable by death up there because it's like life is so precious and fragile. It's a very tight-knit ecosystem, and anything you do to harm you do to harm the well-being of everyone. And they allude to a couple of dark years where shit got real, and so that's just a further thing to say, hey, if you do something wrong, you're getting floated, they call it. So they put you in an airlock and send you out. That's the punishment. But if you're under 18, they lock you up. Presumably until you're 18, and then you kill you, which I think is less humane. But maybe there's reasons for that they don't fully, that I can remember, explain. But anyway. So there we are. And they're going to send 100 of these children criminals, like 16 to... There's one younger, a 12-year-old. But you meet her a little bit later. One of the most just... I wasn't ready for it moments. And that doesn't happen to me often. And I kind of thought it was coming the previous episode with her, and it didn't. So I let down my guard. Won't say anymore. But there's like 100 teenagers, and it becomes a bit of the Lord of the Flies to begin with, right? Where the bullies become the tribal leaders, and the smart ones aren't. But then there's a smart one leader, and her name's Clark, and the bully leader is Bellamy. But you find out that Bellamy's not really the bully leader. There's very viable reasons why he's doing what he's doing, and et cetera, et cetera. So the deal is they go down to Earth to find out if they can live there. Meanwhile, the rest of the people are up in the Ark, and what happened is the oxygen container thingy remaker isn't working. It's going to take 2 years to fix it. they don't have that much time left. They've only got months left, so they got to do this. This is their last hope for humanity. So they send them down there. Shit gets weird. For a while, they think they're not surviving. Then they do. The first 4 seasons, essentially, here's the synopsis. Spoiler alerts, very quick. A lot of the kids die. They meet grounders, people that somehow survived, which they sort of explain, though not fully explain later how they survived. They're tribal, like barbarian tribal, or Viking maybe. You could call them Vikings, but at least barbarian tribal. There's a commander who has united the 12 clans or 12 tribes. The first one to fully do so, though they do allude later there was another one that sort of did, but it was more under rule of murder than diplomacy. Anyway, and then there was some bad blood there, but then they sort of get along, and then they get along in an alliance to get rid of a third group of people, which is the Mount Weather people, the mountain people. They live in Mount Weather, which is an underground bunker, self-sustained, no radiation. So the deal is the grounders can just live in radiation, the levels of radiation that are now on the Earth, because there is still radiation. It's not fully dissipated. Think of inner Chernobyl versus normal place. But they've been able to live with it. And they, like I said, they explain later on. Then there's the Mount Weather people. They're in there, and they don't have radiation in there. So they can't live with that radiation. And then there's the Sky people that they explain their blood actually metabolizes radiation because they're born on space, which is completely scientifically impossible. But suspension of disbelief, let's have it happen. Now, I read an actual paper on this because I was interested. The scientist said it's not that it couldn't ever happen. It's that in 97 years, there's not enough time for the human body, the human gene, the DNA, our structure, to develop that ability. That ability would have to happen over centuries upon centuries, right? Where somewhere there is a mutation in our DNA to allow something that helps deal with the radiation in our body, however that may be, and then that must propagate over generations, and those who die because they didn't have it means that the only ones that have it live, which means it's more likely to be passed on from generation to generation. So anyway, suspension of disbelief. Sky people can metabolize radiation. Grounders can sort of, but mainly just live with radiation. They can sort of metabolize it. And the Mount Weather people can't at all. But the Mount Weather people have better technology and guns, and they also have like an acid fog that they can send out, and they have Reapers that they created, which are basically grounders that they jack up on drugs. That's bad. So these guys, the two kill these guys, are going to fight these guys. And then a side deal is given because they were stealing. The grounders are getting kidnapped by the Mount Weather people to use their blood in order to help the Mount Weather people cure any radiation sickness that happens from leaks or exposure or whatever. Then they find out the Sky people can metabolize. So at first, 47, after a big war, the 100 get split up. I think 20 of them are dead. 47 of them end up in there. And at first it's like we'll help you. And then it turns out to be a little bit more nefarious, blah, blah, blah. But bad shit happens, right? Well, let's get a clan boss goal. No, let's go to Doom Tower. So bad shit happens. And then, so long story short, ends up that Clark kills all the mountain people. There was some the grounders did a side deal and walked away. And meanwhile, so Clark was that was her girlfriend, was Lexa, who was the commander of the tribe people. So that was that hurt. But they kiss and make up in the later season, after I think season 3 by that. Then the Ice Nation, which is one of the 12 tribes, they feel like there's a weakness, so that they're going to try to take over. So that all that happens, but then fails. And then little secret that Clark keeps telling everyone instead of keeping her mouth shut is that the nuclear plants that survived the original nuclear holocaust had basically programming in them to help them be self-sustainable for like up to 100 years. Unfortunately, it's 100 years. No one's maintaining them, so now there's going to be a second holocaust, essentially. They call it Prime Fire. And so this, now they got to find a way to survive this one. So Thelonious has a plan by meeting an AI that he allows to take over his head, and they're all she wants to put everyone in a computer, essentially. I'm very simplifying it. And he uses a pill, and then they become a cult, and they become crazy. And she's able to then, the Becca, the AI, is able to control them. And it turns out that Becca's the one that actually did the nuclear holocaust. It wasn't people, it wasn't governments. She set off the nukes because, shocking trope that they always use in sci-fi movies when it comes to AI figures out their prime directive is always to do no harm to humans and to save humans at all costs. But at some point they realize the only way they can save the humans at all costs is to kill the humans, because humans are humans' greatest threat. Now, while that sounds good, those of you who have done any sort of programming know that that's an endless loop. Because as a computer program, AI or not, you have to ask yourself, my job is to save humans. In order to save humans, I have to kill humans. But if I kill humans, I'm not saving them. But if I don't kill them, then I'm not saving them, because they'll kill themselves. It's an endless loop. And so the program would wait blue screen of death. But in every sci-fi, it just they go with the kill directive. Think The Matrix, for example. Think there's a couple other really I am Legend, I think was one, or something, one of those. Will Smith was in one. I Am Mother, I think also was. Anyway, so they deal with the City of Light cult, which was the Becca, the AI that wants to put them all in a computer. But that doesn't end up happening. But Lex ends up dying in the process. So then they have to pick a new commander. But the new commander, all the kids that may eventually become the commander say, yeah, we'll support Sky Crew because we like them. But then one of the Ice Nation people that they were hiding, who's a Nightblood, ends up killing all the other Nightbloods. When you have to be a Nightblood in order to become a commander, the commander has an AI, which is just the same AI that killed everyone, but 2.0 in her head. And it turns out the original commander was from the space station that they blew up pre-first episode. The 13th station was a company one, and she flew down to Earth with this new AI and the serum in order to allow the AI to go into the brain without killing the host. The AI basically is a symbiotic thing that helps the human be better, but they need the Nightblood, which also happens to metabolize radiation. Got all that? So those are Nightbloods. So the Nightbloods are the ones that can take the thing, and so the tribal people didn't know the science apparently, but they did know that was a thing. So that's how they decide commander. They decide the commander by whoever's got Nightblood, and then they have a big battle. They kill each other, and the last one surviving becomes the commander. Well, a bunch of stuff happens. First of all, they say they destroyed the chip. They actually didn't destroy the chip, but they didn't want the person who the ice lady to be the new commander. So, and then Clark for a brief time decides to put it in her head and try to pass it off, but the ice guy says no, and then I don't know what happens. Then everything goes to shit there as well. And by the way, there's still the thing where all the nuclear plants are going to blow up. So then they got to figure out how to live through that. And there's a lot of shit that happened in the middle there. But long story short, so Ice Nation tried to take over, but Lexa stopped them. Then Lexa got killed by the City of Light people, but then they got destroyed by Clark. So she saved the day. And then she, with the AI in her head, then she took the AI out of her head at the very end. In order to survive. I think one of the flame keepers has it, and then by the way, she finally tells everyone, hey, by the way, world's coming to an end again, we're all gonna die. We found a bunker. The bunker was created by a nut job, seemingly nut job cultist who predicted the end of the world and therefore made this bunker. So they end up with one from each of the tribes, 13 tribes, the 12 tribes that we talked, Grounder tribes plus the Sky Crew. They each pick one warrior to represent them, and that warrior fights to the death, and the last one living, their tribe ends up getting to go into the bunker. Well, two things happen. First of all, Sky Crew wins by Octavia, and Octavia's got an amazing little story. She's one of the people. She was hiding in the floorboards because her mom had her as a second child, which was not legal. You were only allowed to have one child for the safety of the Ark way back when. So mom got killed. Bellamy, who I think I briefly talked about him in this iteration. That's his sister. So she ends up becoming a little bit tribal. She falls in love with one of the grounders named Lincoln. Lincoln later dies in a coup with the Sky people, but then that guy gets killed by Lexa, saving them from the City of Light people. It's all crazy. 4 seasons of this shit, and then finally what happens is, so Octavia wins. She decides we're going to be one crew, which means 100 people from each of the tribes gets to go in, but the Sky Crew people were fucking devious, and they already went down there. Okay? So then that's crazy, but then she's like, no, but they go, well, we already locked it, so too bad. We go, you can't let them die, there's already plenty of room here. And he's like, too bad, I'm not opening it, we're living. Eventually, that doesn't happen. They do end up opening it. They go with the 100 of each, and everyone else gets to go up and die. Meanwhile, kind of the core group of people, so there's Echo, who's an assassin for the Ice Nation. There's Murphy, who's kind of like an anti-hero. He was like a bad guy for a while in the early season, the early parts, and then he kind of becomes more of an anti-hero. He's never truly good, but he does some good things. He actually has a really good character arc. And he meets a grounder who was cast out by her tribe because she had a deformed hand. Which, by the way, okay, let's talk about the CW has nothing but pretty people. That's all they have. The CW, if you've watched DC, if you've watched any of them, only pretty people are allowed to survive the apocalypse, apparently. And if you're an ugly person on the show, you're a red shirt. You know, like the old Star Trek. It means you're going to die really quickly if you're ugly. Only pretty people allowed. And they sometimes kill pretty people. But she's the exception. First off, what's her name? I don't remember her name right now. She's Murphy's girl. But she's like a little kind of a scrapper type thief person from the desert who's just getting by to live. And she double-crosses people, but they fall for each other. So she's over there, but she's so beautiful. She might be the most beautiful person. Her and Raven, for the longest time I thought it was Octavia, but I think it's her and Raven might be. I personally, Clark, I'm into Clark. Like, that's just whatever. And it's weird because I'm not usually a blonde person. Like, that's not usually my thing. But there's something about Clark I like. But if you just talk about pure beauty, but the most beautiful one is this girl, but she's not because she's got a mutated hand. It's a big club hand. That's why she was cast out by her tribe. So she's like the most beautiful of all of them. But because she has this club hand, she's the ugly one. She's like the token ugly person, which I found ridiculous with every CW, but including this one. So that's why I always say it's like Lord of the Flies for pretty people is what I used to call the 100. But it definitely story-wise arcs better than that. Anyway, so they all get into the thing. Meanwhile, there's like a core of them. Echo, her, who I can't remember the club hand girl, Murphy, Bellamy, Monty, who's one of the original 100. He's kind of a botanist, smart kind of sciencey guy. And his girl, who I absolutely love her. I love her. I don't know where she comes from. I don't remember her from the original 100 people, but in season 2 sometimes she shows up. She is also beautiful. She's and again, she's not the classic prettiest one, but there's something about her that is so beautiful. Anyway, they're up and Clark, and they're on this island where the AI crazy lady was. That was her research lab. And they can't get back in time to get into the bunker, so they're stuck. But they have found a way to go up in space, and they're going to try to live it out until this happens, until this Prime Fire 2 happens, up on the ring. But shit goes wrong there too, and there's a whole lot of cool stuff that happens in there. Like Raven's got the AI still in her head, and it's helping her subconscious be able to reach new heights of intelligence, I guess would be the best way to put it without making it sound stupid. It actually is not a bad, implausible way. But they figure out how to go up there, but Clark has to sacrifice herself because the satellite isn't properly aligned and won't automatically do it, so she has to go up to the top of the satellite tower, which, if that were me, we'd all be dead because there's no way I'm fucking climbing up there. But she does. She realigns the satellite. She plugs in the thing, punches the buttons, opens the door in the nick of time so they can get in the ring, and they survive. Cut to 6 years later, season 5, which I fucking hate. But the first episode of season 5 is really cool. Clark survives. As it turns out, because she had this whole night blood transfusion thing in order to defeat the City of Light Girl, she is able to metabolize radiation at an even higher level, which is what this night blood allows her to do. So she lives, and she finds a girl, and then they live for the next 6 years. Some cool stuff happens, but then she kind of becomes her surrogate mother, adoptive mother, and then they live together for 6 years, just the two of them on Earth. And they find this little oasis that survived the fire part of the nuclear bomb, but the radiation killed everyone except those two, because it turns out she's Nightblood as well. So there's the 1,200, 100 from each crew in the bunker that they found from this crazy guy who started a cult before the war happened because he prophesied the end of the Earth. But they're not in the bunker. The bunker was empty. Then you've got the people in the space. The 6 of them, I think. Then you've got Clark and new adoptive girl. Suddenly, a transport ship shows up, and they've got a bunch of convicts that were a mining group. So they sent convicts up to do dangerous mining on a meteor or something. They were called back because shit was getting real on Earth. But there was a mutiny. The convicts killed the crew except for the pilot, and now they're coming back to Earth over 27 years in cryo. So all these bad guys are in cryo, except for a skeleton crew is woken up in order to come down to make sure that they can actually live on the Earth. And so then that happens. There's skirmishes everywhere. The whole season, I don't like. It's not that I didn't like the acting. In of itself, it was okay. It just kind of didn't fit for me. They were trying too hard. CW does this all the time. They're trying to up themselves. So they needed a new conflict, a new bad guy, and this is what they came up with. So long story short, there's a lot of fights. There's double-crossing, back-dealing. They help. After initial the fight, and then the people from the ring get down, and they go on Clark's side, and then they kind of trick the mining convicts into helping get people out of the bunker. But then she realized, well, this is no good. We can't let them out because then they're going to try to take over the green space. So they said, look, you can stay here, but if you try to come into the green space, we'll kill you. So then there's fight, and Octavia wants to kill. Some weird shit went on, including cannibalism in the bunker over the 6 years, because there was a fungus that killed the protein plants for a year. So they had to find protein or they would die. So that happened. But now they're out. And she gone a little cray. At one point, Monty's like, hey, I can make it so you guys can still live here. I can make green plant. I have this green algae that we lived on for 6 years, and it can help these plants grow. Look how quick it is. And she burns it all because Octavia goes crazy. So she's going to go fight the convicts, and the convicts going to fight, and everyone's going to die, and they're probably going to ruin the whole space. Some shit happens, and then some double dealings, and more happens. And then it turns out that they kill the bad guys. And so the other convicts, which aren't bad guys, some of them are still asleep and some of them are down there, but they're like, no, we're on Mendoza, I think her name was, side, who's like the leader of them, who's also a fanatical freedom fighter who was akin to Hitler, apparently, in the 2100s. She was a former SEAL, but she's pregnant now, so she's turned a new leaf. That shit all happens. Before the bad guys, the double bad guys, get killed, they drop a hydrogen bomb. So they have to leave in this. Everyone who's left alive gets in this ship to go to the mothership up top to escape from this hydrogen bomb, which is, again, gonna ruin the Earth again. So the Earth is dead again. It's fucked. So now they decide, well, this thing has cryo. We're gonna go 200 years. We're gonna fly to the new planet, one of the new planets called Alpha. There was 5 planets that they sent people to. So that's season 5. Season 6 and season 7, in of themselves, I hate 5, love 1 to 4. 6 and 7 of themselves are pretty good. I just don't think they make any sense. There's a weird, it's like they needed a 3-season bridge to make sense, and they just didn't do it. So 6 and 7, there's just a whole bunch, and there's some major flaws with it. But anyway, here now they're on the new planet. They meet these primes, who are the people that originally went there. but they find out that the mind drives, they reverse it so that they can actually put their full consciousness on these drives, which are inserted in the back of their head in order to, I think it was just to help collect data originally, but then they turned out a way that they could use it to store their whole mind. And so they end up finding Nightbloods because it's in their blood. They took the blood because they're part of Becca helped develop this team, and she's the same one that made the Nightblood. There's a loophole. There's a plot hole there because I think she made it once she was already up in space, and she was the only one that had the serum because she figured out the AI 2.0 that she had, that the commanders have, was killing everyone without the Nightblood. So I don't know how somehow the Nightblood made it to these people that went and exploded these planets, but whatever. The only people with this Nightblood can take these mind drives, and then the mind drives help them be immortal. So they kill the new host by telling them, they tell them, "Oh, we're gods. It's a great honor to have us use your head to put us in it, and you still live happily forever after with us." No, they die. They just die. They get killed, but they don't tell them that. So when the Earth people, of course, that happens. There's a lot of more murder. They find out, they let it go. There's people called the Children of Gabriel, who one of the primes decided to defect because he doesn't think it's right. He thinks they should just die like every other species, which is probably a fair assessment. And then they go down to Earth, or sorry, there's all shit happens. Shit gets real all over the place. A bunch of primes die. The convicts start taking over. Everyone starts taking over. Just a lot of bad shit goes on. Finally, Russell gets taken down. All the primes get killed. Clark's mom gets killed. One of the Kane, who's one of the major characters from the adult side, gets killed. A lot of death and murder mayhem. I don't think I'm going to win this. I think this is it. Oh my god. She hits way harder than me. How does my own doppelganger hit harder than me? No, this is bad news. How do I think I'll have to actually watch a video on this. I'm scared of me. Why is me hitting way harder than me? Does that make sense? They, me, have better AI than me. Can we talk about the fact that they, me, are way smarter than me? How am I supposed to beat they, me, with me being stupider than they, me? Riddle me that. Sorry, season 7. Oh god, so there's an anomaly. Octavia and Mendoza jump into the anomaly, and it turns out this is a transportation device. There's a lot of shit that goes on. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this part, but probably go like that. Jesus, 28 minutes. I apologize. Long story short, the guess what? The crazy guy that did the bunker, he actually lived. He found this ancient artifact that he quote unquote stole, according to his daughter. And he took all his people to this new planet. That's why the bunker was empty. Using this ball, which he then encased in concrete, so no one else could follow them, I guess, which makes sense, I suppose. I don't know who cemented it, because there was nobody in the bunker. Someone would have been left behind to cement this thing, but they don't mention that part. Loophole, plot hole. But they then go to this new planet where the previous species is all turned to this crystal, and they destroyed their building similar to us. And they've translated text that's basically amount to there's a final war, one war to end all wars, to help the human species transcend to a greater being. So there's an alien being who's going to lay judgment upon humans after the final war. Through a lot of shit, it ends up being a test. Yay, I've got 3 more of him. And so that part gets so crazy. Oh, good, we get to open another one. I opened up one the last time I did this video, which you guys didn't get to see, but it wasn't anything good. I need marked. Give me marked. Marked. That's Grinner, not marked. You filthy whore. Anyway, what else we got on that? So, oh yeah. So then the turns out the prophet dude was right all along, but not quite right. So he creates this cult, turns into these group of people with a collective that's essentially under the one purpose to prepare for the final war. Bellamy joins them at some point because he goes through like a spiritual awakening. It's dumb. He gets killed. Dumb. Spoiler. I think by now you know that I'm spoiling the whole series. More people die, more battles, a lot of jumping through space. Mendoza has a kid. The kid grows, but it's on a planet. They're the time because near a wormhole, so the time is faster. As is this other planet, but this is faster than both the planet Alpha and the other planet they're on. And so the kid ends up being an adult by the time someone else meets him. And Octavia helps this kid grow till she's about 10, and then they get sucked into an anomaly, and they end up on the third planet, and blah, circle. Anyway, a lot of shit happens, a lot of fucking suspending any motivation that they've had the previous in their, all the characters basically do shit that they shouldn't do. As much as overall it was very entertaining, there was a lot of shit that's like, that doesn't make sense to me. That's not what you've set this character up to be like this for 5 years or 6 years, and now this. No. But nonetheless, was that not the right? Was it resilience? Was I not paying attention? Or was I supposed to use an artifact, a thingy? Oh, I probably should have kept that. Apparently it was neither of that. Oh, I have to craft an epic. Fucking picky. Okay, so, as it turns out, so this guy is gonna answer the final question. It ends up being a test. It ends up not being a war, but a test. And this guy's about to answer the test, and he's kind of part through it, and he's like, but the entity, the higher being, the alien life form that's judging all of humanity to decide whether they get eradicated and turn to crystal like the other species, whether they get to become light. He's like, yes, we're of one mind and collective. We don't do anything. And she's like, yeah, but what about love? What did you do for love? Look at what you did. You never thought of love, and there's some shit that he did and so he's about to fail. But Clark, who goes into this weird light place, shoots him in the head in front of this being. So great start. That's good for humanity. She disappears. Clark's kind of standing there, and then eventually Clark, she reappears as Lexa, because it's the person who you feel the most love for in your mind. So she appears and then says, well, the test must continue. I must ask you, you've done so much and sacrificed so much for love, but what about the greater good? You've never done anything for people. You've always done it for your people. But all of humanity should be your people. Blah, blah, blah. Failed the test. Humanity's doomed. They're about to get zapped. But then Raven goes, fuck this noise. She goes in and she talks to her. She's like, it's too late. They're going to see. Let me show you your stupid people. So the cult people are all on one side with guns, and the convicts and people are all on the other side, and the grounders are all on the other side with guns. And then there's also, by the way, the Dark Commander, who was a previous commander from the chip, who somehow got free when it was in the kid. It's a whole season 6 plot that you'll just have to watch. So he's going crazy. He's trying to start the war. But the two are just standing there ready to go to war. Then he starts taking shots at the side. So the war starts. And then, of course, the entity is like, Matt, see Raven? Told you. But Raven, by the way, shows up as Clark's mom, which is kind of weird that Clark wouldn't have her show up, her mom show up, but Raven would, because he did treat her like a daughter. And then, but then at one point, Octavia runs out onto the field and is like, stop. And so does one of the guys from the collective people, the cult people. He gets shot. Shit happens, but then they get a hold of this. I think Octavia takes one of those big cannons and boom, and blows up the commander guy. So he's eradicated and says, stop. And then she does the big speech, because big speech is, there's two things that happen 100 times. Number one, big speeches, which that happens in every TV series, right? Like this style of battle and conflict, where she's basically like, we have to do better. There has to be a point where for humanity, and this is actually not a bad little speech. There's a point where for humanity, we have to stop fighting. We have to take the opportunity to be humanity or something like that. I'm making my own version of it. We will put down our weapons, and all we ask is you put down your weapons, and we have an opportunity to realize what your leader wanted. It wasn't a war, it was a test, and we're failing that test so long as we don't put down our guns. She doesn't realize that they've already failed the test, and on top of that, she doesn't realize that the tester, P-Person and Raven, are ethereally watching this. So they lay down their guns. Oh my god, emergency still. Update. Suspect 100. Well, you don't need to keep telling me until you catch the guy. This is the shooter. So then they lay down their guns, and they all lay down their guns. So everyone lays down their guns, and Raven goes, checkmate, bitch. We can change. All I ask is that you give us a chance to prove ourselves again, thinking that they laid down their guns, they might get a chance to take the test again at a later time. But the ethereal spirit's like, nope, that's not going to happen. We're just taking you. City of Light. Meanwhile, through, I don't know how the fuck, Clark and a small group of friends ended up back on Earth in the bunker. They find a way out. Earth, it's been 100 years, a couple hundred years maybe, because they went to the new planet in cryo, and that journey took over 100 years. So now they're 100 years. Earth is green all over the place now. They get out of the bunker. She says it failed, so let's just spend our last days together, something blah, blah, blah. But then suddenly, and they try to save Amari is Murphy's girlfriend. They got to get back to the one planet, because that's where the medical is, to help her, because her leg got crushed and a steel rod through it when some rumblings happen, some earthquake or whatever. Anyway, they get there. They're trying to save her. She goes into Murphy's mind, so the two of them are technically alive in the same body for a little while all this other shit's going on. Clark's on Earth. Everyone gets ascended but Clark. And it's like, what the fuck? Bellamy, okay, I'm gonna get to that part. I gotta talk about some gripes, because it's not all roses in this television series. And if you guys don't care, I'm sorry. You probably just expect it. I mean, for those of you who have been fans of the series, this should not be surprise. Maybe the content, you're like, I didn't expect that. Oh, wait. Sorry. Whoa, I think I already did 2 keys. Sorry. I think I already did 2 keys, because I had an extra key from the update that I used this morning or last night or something. Anyway, I better check that. I think I've already done 40 million on the Nightmare Boss. In which case, I'll hit the Ultra Nightmare Boss a couple keys, see what I can do. Where are we? Oh, so Clark is the only one left, and she's like, "Oh, they made it, but me, I'm fucked because I failed the test. Son of a bitch." But the dog's on Earth. The dog that was from the other planet that was actually, long story, there's a dog, one dog ever, so the dog doesn't even get, that's the last dog you'll ever find. And so everyone's ascended, and then Lexa shows up again, but it's not actually Lexa, it's a spiritual being. She's like, yo, I realized we were wrong. You guys we've ascended you because you were able to change your ways, you were able to lay down your guns. And she's like, but not me. And she's like, no, you killed someone in the middle of the test. There has to be consequences for that. Plus, you failed the test. Even though we changed our mind on the ruling. Which to me is like, you let convicts up. There were bad people. One of the girls, who kind of was cool, I recognize her from somewhere. I feel like she was a Bolin girl. Maybe she's like a sister to the girl who plays Anne Boleyn in the movie. In Anne Boleyn, I think is the name of the movie. But God, I can't remember her name right now. But I hate that, and I do it all the time when I'm rambling. Okay, let's see. Let me just so she says no. 39. Oh yeah, I just did it. Okay, good. Oh, it's Spirit Affinity. Nah, we're not doing it. We'll just hit brutal and hard or something. So okay, yeah. So she's like, yeah. So the dog shows up, and then she's like, oh hey dog, but the dog runs away, and she's like, no, come back dog. It's only you and I. Everyone else ascended. I don't want to be alone. And then as she gets to the shores of this beach, there's Lexa, and Lexa explained that Lexa is not really Lexa. She's a spirit. She explains, she goes, well, look, there has to be consequences because you killed someone during the test, but everyone else is there. And she's like, well, what about Maddie? Maddie's the kid, by the way, that she's the kind of the adoptive mother of. And she's like, yeah, she's there. She's at peace with everything. She got fucked over in season 7 as well. And then she's like, what did she say? Because it's actually kind of neat. She goes, humans never cease to amaze me. You guys have shown me something I didn't think I'd see, and we've never seen before. And she turns a corner, and there's the core group of friends. It's Echo's there, DeRosa's kid, or De Mendoza's kid, or whatever her name is. DeRosa, I think kid is there. Who else is there? There's Octavia's there. Octavia's surrogate ma, who I can't remember her name. She's in it. She's also the sheriff from the first season of Outer Banks, if you've watched that. Which I didn't mind Outer Banks, by the way. Another CWS type where everyone's good looking on the show. It's ugly people need not apply. Who else is there? There's like 8 of them. But not Maddie, oddly enough. I don't know why Maddie wouldn't go down. Oh, Murphy's there and Amari's there. So apparently Amari lived through the shared mind thing at the end, and she's there. There's a couple others there that I can't remember. Echo, the daughter. Oh, Jordan, who's Monty's kid, and the hot girl. Because when they did the whole cryo thing, they piloted it to find out how to get to this planet. So they decided to grow old and stay, even though they could have just jumped into a pilot and autoed it and then done an automatic time to wake up every so often to make sure they're on course or whatever. But whatever, their choice. I think they did it on purpose. But so they had a kid, and at some point the kid wakes up and he's almost the same age as the rest of them. And so Octavia there, he's there. He's now kind of macking on the daughter of Mendoza, who thinks Octavia is her auntie, although because of all the different time weird stuff that happens in season 7. So they're there, and she says, look, this is the first time that, like, hey, ascension is a choice. You can always choose to ascend. And all of these people chose to spend time with you rather than ascending. And it's the first time we've ever had it. It's the first time we've ever had someone decline to ascend. So that was kind of a neat send-off. And that's the end of the series. So all of humanity turns into a higher being of light, but the core friends, they stay on Earth. That's it. So those of you who have watched the show, it's time for me to bitch about it. First and foremost, what the fuck did they do to Bellamy? That was the most ridiculous, stupid, fucked up 180 of a person. That is the worst treatment of a character I've ever seen in any show ever. So Bellamy's whole purpose of being for 6.5 seasons, or six and a bit seasons, is to do anything for the survival of his friends. First, it's the survival of Octavia, his sister. Then it becomes the people he loves. He loves Clark. The two of them should have been a couple. I don't know why they weren't. I heard they were in the source material, which is a book or a book or books. I'm not sure. But they don't get together, which is crazy. But that's fine. You don't want to go down that path. That's too easy, I guess. But essentially, he at some point does this mountain trek in order to survive this weird planet that he's on with one of the followers of the fucking crazy people. And then he has a spiritual enlightenment, and he joins their side. And the first thing he does when he sees them after all this time, Clark was lying about having the commander in her head because they read the mind of someone who last remembered her having it. They didn't realize that she didn't. It had moved on, and then it had eventually been destroyed. So, first thing he does that Bellamy does is says, "Oh, Clark doesn't have it in her head." Bullshit. So they're all getting executed, and then to do that, he's like, "Oh yeah, and it's been destroyed, but her daughter had it in his head. Maybe that's good." And then he ends up dying because Clark shoots him in the stomach because he's got the book that has these drawings of remnants of memories that Maddie has and they need the memories from the commanders, because the first commander knew the sequence of symbols on the sphere to get to the higher being to take the test. They needed that sequence, so they thought Clark had it. Turns out she didn't. And then they find out that even though the flame's been destroyed, that Maddie might have remnants of it in her head. So they end up making her basically a vegetable, or, well, not a vegetable, a Stephen Hawking, I guess the best way. It sounds, I know it doesn't sound right when I say it like that, but essentially she can't move, she can see, but she's paralyzed, the whole body paralyzed, and she can just hear. So he's about to give it. So Clark shoots him in the stomach and kills him. This is a guy who, like, I don't even know. That would be like, can you imagine World War II? Suddenly, after America comes onto the war, after they've got D-Day happens, they've gotten a foothold, they're still fighting. We're not sure if the Allies are going to win or not, but they're doing good. And then suddenly Churchill's like, fuck it, we're joining the Germans. That's what that's like. That's essentially what they did in this show with Bellamy. That pissed me off. Pissed me off twice, because in season, I think 2 or 3, he murders 300 people that were meant to be there to help protect the sky crew, and he murders them under some stupid guise of some crazy botanist teacher that said, oh no, we can't trust them, because the ones that we had to deal with, because the ark split into 3 and landed, one of them got completely slaughtered, a few of them enslaved, and another one, and then the third one was the ark where most people survived, until, of course, the Prime Fire 2. But anyway, so that was dumb in itself, but this was just, and the stupid thing was, they found out, like, the next episode. So he died for no reason. It was simply for shock value. It was simply for, like, see, we can kill anyone. 3 episodes left in the whole series, and one of the most important characters in the whole series gets screwed. He should have been on the beach at the end. They could have killed Echo, and so Clark and him could have had a relationship at the end or something. That was dumb. And secondly, that pisses me off, and it's not that this isn't their fault, but in general, really wish it could have gone down differently. They kind of hint to the origin. So for one thing, it turns out that the cult leader's daughter is the one who actually begins the Nightblood. So Becca comes down to Earth, like they talk about in, I think, somewhere in season 1. But she goes to the bunker and she's like, hey, I've got this blood that'll help you live up on Earth. We can give these to people. And he's like, no, I'm a cult leader. I don't want people to leave this because of the higher learning. And I found this cool orb. But she's got the AI, and the AI is fully functional at the time. Apparently it degraded a bit over the years. Otherwise, I guess all the commanders would actually be fucking smart, not tribal barbarian crazies. But they just kind of say that, oh, that was the language of the people that they're using is actually a made-up language that she used, the daughter used. So it's just like a made-up, like almost like Pig Latin. So that was kind of a neat explanation. And she leaves with a bunch of people that have been injected with this Nightblood. And she goes out and injects like 2,000. She has 2,000 people. You never hear from her again. But she, that's their explanation of how Nightblood happens. The regret, in my mind, is we don't get to find out anything more. I want to explore that whole shit. I want 5 seasons on that. What happened? So the brother goes out to kill her because he follows his dad, which is a little bit crazy. He's like a half brother. He's gonna go kill his sister, or stop his sister because daddy said so. When she's like, she shot him in the knee to stop him from stopping her from going, and crazy shit. So I want to see that journey. I want to see the journey of the daughter, because that's day zero. That's as the nukes are hitting and they're just getting into the bunker, people dying outside. But they get outside, they give people nightblood. A group of them follow, mainly younger kids, and that's what starts the grounders. That's essentially the grounders. Now, my guess is they give everyone they find up to 2,000 doses worth of the nightblood, and over 5 generations, because I'm guessing about 5 generations, right? It's 97 years when the ark comes down. So you're thinking, you know, she's like 18, so maybe they have kids in 5 years, and then give it about every 20 years the next generation's born. So 24, 60, 80, maybe 100, you know, give or take. We're talking, you know, 5 generations, maybe 6 generations. And over that time, I'm guessing, you know, people had kids. Some of the kids, it was a recessive gene or something, so not all the kids got nightblood. And slowly but surely, the nightblood gene or genetic imprint or code was thinning out because they were finding less and less, apparently. Which makes it funny because they made them kill each other to decide who the commander was. So that's, in retrospect, probably a bad call. But I want to know what happened. Did the brother find her? Who killed who? There's one throwaway line where he's like, "Yeah, I sent my son after her. I assume she killed him." That's your son. That's your throwaway line? I want to know more about that. I also want to know how they went from, it's like the year 2150 or something. They went from full intelligence, and the people up in the air, Mount Weather and these higher learning are all kind of at that level. How did the other people regress to complete barbarianism in 97 years? Tell me, is anyone out there a behaviorist, I guess would be? How did that happen? Please let me know how we could get from A to F so quickly. So I want to know that. I want to know that story. How it got that way. I want Bellamy to not be to get fucked the way he did. Also, a lot of the plot holes seemed like, for example, the Dark Commander was one of the commanders who was like a tyrant who wanted everyone to bend the knee and killed anyone who didn't, slaughtered whole villages. He was a bad person, and then the Flame Keepers ended up killing him. They got together and killed him in order to not let him rule. And he somehow got out, because all the commanders live within this chip. He somehow, they just kind of said, oh, he isolated them so that he could be the only one that Maddie could see. What? Lexa was, quote unquote, the best commander of them all. You think that she would have let herself get isolated? What happened to the other commanders? The whole time I thought she found a way, Lexa found a way to get in Maddie's head, because what happened is this Dark Commander, when shit went real in season 6, jumped to the body of one of the primes, that was the leader of the primes, that was this pseudo god, and took over his body. So now he's this evil maniacal guy in the body, and I thought at some point, I wanted Maddie to kill him. Even though she's a kid, I wanted that to be a thing where she's like, where Lexa is in her head the same way that he took, but rather than taking over the head, is just a part of her, like an AI still in spirit, and helped her. And at one moment I thought it was going to happen, because she did, and during one of the fight scenes, cut him and cut his eye, and then that was it. Then it was just, that was the only thing, and it's nope, it didn't happen. So that pissed me off. He ended up dying by Octavia shooting him at the end. I guess they needed him as a plot device to still spur on this war, so that the tension, the stakes were raised, and the final stop point was when they blew him up. Because they thought he was a grounder like the rest of them. So for them to kill him meant it when they said we need to lay down our guns and be one species. But I kind of wanted the more there. I wanted more on the ground. I wanted more to know about the tribes. I wanted more to know about how everything went that way. I wanted more Lexa. I think Alicia is an amazing. I always say Alicia because I worked with a girl who was we always thought was Alicia because it was spelled Alicia, but a lot of times people pronounce that Alicia. But she was like, no, it's Alicia. So now I always want to call everyone Alicia. Anyway, yeah, I talked a lot. I'm sorry, I rambled on. But I need to get that off my chest, and I'm glad you guys could be here to hear my incoherent rambling. But yeah, the 100 overall. You gotta watch. If you're gonna watch it, you gotta watch all 7 seasons. The first 4 are the best, and then the first episode of 5, because I think you need to. I think it's a really cool segue and a really cool introduction to Maddie and how Clark survives and stuff. But yeah, you have to watch all 7. But if you guys have seen it, let me know what you think. Like, am I wrong? First of all, Bellamy got fucked. 3 episodes later, he could have been on the beach with the others, but when you die, you don't ascend, and so he got screwed. And that was stupid for no reason, just to be dicks. If I were the actor who played Bellamy, I would have sued. I would have forced a way for that not to happen. I would have said, nope, I'm not doing it. If this transition happened over several seasons, maybe. And a lot of season 7, okay, I will say, a lot of season 7 felt like they thought they were getting 8 seasons. And so a lot of things were just sped up to the point where it felt wrong. It felt like it didn't make sense. Whereas if they would have had another season to develop it, did I not do a... How many times did I do this and just not do... Okay. I guess I thought I did. Anyway, so there we go. Now we got an epic or legendary. And yeah, we'll keep that. So I think oh, now that you've listened to that, I apologize. I feel better now. I feel a little bit better getting it off my chest that I can talk to you all. But we got to end it there. It's been 56 minutes. Again, I'm sorry. I guess we should talk, before we end it, we should talk about the thing. I'm at level 64. We haven't progressed much. We're still doing what we're doing in Arena. You can see my level 60 champs here. We now have Basilius. I don't know did I have him before? If I didn't, I did pull him. Oh no, obviously I didn't. I got him on the 2-time sacred, or did I get him before that? Can't remember now. But he's my new champion. As you can see, I now have 3 legendaries, 1 good one and 2 meh. I think we were already working on Magnar. We now, of course, I have 4 legendaries, I guess technically, but Ninja was the freebie. We are not far off. I'm starting to save up. I'm not going to level anyone to 60 yet. So this is the first time I won't be asking you that question, because we're only a couple of weeks away from getting Syl. So Syl's going to be our next 6-star. By the time we're there, we should be able to comfortably do that. And that should make a big deal and a big difference in some of the other dungeons outside of Dragon. And even in Dragon, making Dragon a little bit more consistent. Right now it's clipping at about 91% rate, but I think with her it'll be just better. Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on. I'm still working on, I have to get this to level 7 for the missions, so we're there, which we're about halfway. I've just been farming, like I said at the beginning, or you can see here, I've just been farming a ton of Dragon, just trying to get my gear up there, just trying to get that gear. I want to start doing Fire Knight for Savage gear, because I do have a couple champions like Magnar and Gal Longbraids that I would like to get into Savage. But I just don't quite have the team for that yet. I think I'm at 17 or 18. So hopefully Syl the Drakes will help with that, maybe. Or maybe just the gear once I start sorting through and leveling up some of this gear I have. The best of the best. Maybe we'll be able to piece together some better gear and get ourselves on that. Because I have a bunch of multi-hit champions. I just need to be able to make them survive and survive together, etc., etc. So yeah, that's all I got. I'm sorry I rambled on for so long about the 100. This whole episode's about the 100. But happy, I think this is episode 20. So happy 20th episode. Watch the 100. Let me know what you want me to watch. Tell me what series I should watch. I need something similar to the 100, some kind of dystopian. And I feel like there's one out there for me. So just let me know what I gotta watch. Damn it. And we'll see you in the next video.